Not the satellite.
No, I mean to say about these.
About automation.
Yeah, about automation.
Yeah, I did. I was
you
there.
give
That
it
was
to
in '93.
To the government institutions?
Yeah.
Or to the,
Yeah, the
gov-
Department of Industry invited me.
Oh,
to go there.
Department of Industry.
Yeah. Okay. So
And
I was there.
what was their response at the time?
They didn't. I mean, yeah, I mean, their response was, yeah, I gave the talk, and then they gave, and they show and highlight, all their petrochemical plants, which I think was sort of their highlights of the aspects of it. But I think a lot of the questions that they did there is they were worried and concerned about how, for instance, automation, if Indonesia adopted automation, would hurt the essentially home business, right? The home, but so my answer to that, and I showed that, and there, in the short preparation for the trip, I actually designed a machine to benefit, to hopefully it will benefit Indonesia. It's hard to say. So this is the thing. Yes, you want to preserve the home business, and that's understandable. I mean, it's a problem here too with automation. It's not just in Indonesia. So I gave it sort of an example. Is, for instance, batik.
Oh, okay.
So at one time I know that, and how this sort of inspiration that came in, it was sort of really weird. It sort of started out when I was actually in Singapore. So I was actually, then at that time, I don't know if I was 8 or 9, I don't know if it was the last year that we were in Singapore, what have you. But I remember, and again, my dad worked at the embassy there, and then I get dragged along. Then what I got very interested was I always saw there was this old lady that was in the embassy, and she would paint, batik tulis. Right?
Batik tulis.
Yeah, but by hand, right? And then he would, she's really old, chew the tobacco, rotten teeth. I still have that vivid image. But I'd sit there and watch, and she'd like painfully sit there and write with the beeswax, right? And then go through that thing. And then, but the batik is now sort of art form. Well, the problem is this: as Indonesia modernizes, that's going to be an art form that dies, okay? Because it's very labor intensive, it's true. And then possibly nobody wants to really pay for it. I mean, there's a few, so there's a few artists who survive, but the youth is not going to go into there because there's no career. They can't really sort of make the money, right? So that art form will die. So I was worried. I was worried that that art form will die. Nobody will tulis, tulis anymore. So then I came up and thought of an idea. It's go like, okay, let's see, how can we make it sort of monetary beneficial for the artist? So you take the artist, and the artist is drawing the batik on a form. And now the technology is there. But you have a camera that's looking at the thing that she's writing, right? Or she can actually wear a sleeve that has a sensor and writing. And then you have 20 of these robots that can sit there and use the BMax. So instead of taking one to produce, 2 months to produce, she'll produce 20. Or he will produce 20. But it is still writing, because the robot will still write. It's not printed. Then, of course, once it's digitized, the computer has it, that art form is preserved.
Yeah. Oh.
Right?
But that's an example.
But I don't think they understood that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then the other aspect is also, the other thing, I have all these ideas. So this is sort of the form, if I had the infrastructure and do research in Indonesian, that's it. In an Indonesian university in research and some student doing research, there would already be a batik robot for sure. There's no doubt about it. The other aspect of it is also angklong.
Once again?
Angklong.
Oh, uncle.
So in the angklong, right, I think you have an orchestra of angklong. And the people play, and they might be able to play 1 or 2 at the most, right? And then you have all the and this is actually, yes, okay. So it is an art form, and it's some of the things that's unique about the angklong, because you can't have the orchestra, all the human beings, as best as they can be trained, they can't hit it exactly in sync, right? So some of that variation gives the unique sound of the angklong. But what I'm curious about is if you built a machine that can play these angklongs at exactly the same rate, exactly the same, what kind of sound would it make? Why? Because angklong is unique to Indonesia, right? And that's where you don't need to fear automation, because automation can create the art form. That's really very different. And Indonesia is very rich in art, right? And that's where you sort of then come in.
So now we understand your.
So there's still that aspect. So these are, but you can, right? What's gonna? Yeah, okay. And I can now. Now I'm at a level where I can sort of build an uncloned organ that comes. And then you keep on, because it's hard. Then what happens if you have an uncloned organ as a machine that's capable? The problem is then in the United States, hopefully you'll get someone interested in the United States, and then orchestra in the United States will have someone that play an uncloned, because in the United States it's going to be tough to get an uncloned entire uncloned. So then uncloned doesn't get promoted in the United States. But if you have an instrument that plays the uncloned, right, the automation can bring you outside. If you have, so
actually, yeah, the basic thing is the idea of keep on thinking about all other possibilities using the modern technology and the automation.
You have to keep up.
Yeah.
You can't stay back in history.
But when you visited Indonesia, I don't know how many times, but have you ever visited the education institution like UI, Universitas Indonesia, ITB? Probably.
No, I did not. I haven't had a chance to visit ITB. I'd like to. I'd like to see what it is like to compare. But I went to university.
But you did go to the mechanical department,
yes, the engineering department.
Oh, engineering department in UI. So what was your impression and how was it?
Well, the impression that and again, okay, so to be fair to that is, of course, I'm exposed to one of the best, so it's really sort of hard to sit there and make a fair judgment. Okay?
Oh, yeah, understand.
But the only judgment is because I am exposed to this type of technology. The problem is I think the students that are there in some sense are cheated. Right, they're cheated. They're exposed to an engineering curriculum, but it's not all of it. They don't have an opportunity to, and the question is, when do they get an opportunity to do that? Like I said, the engineering student goes through a rigorous engineering program and then ends up going and becoming a banker. But as part of that, I think this is an important part of the engineering curriculum. I think it's really important for the students to get some aspect of the hands-on stuff. And then the problem and the difficulty with engineering is, imagine if we were still doing all of these things in PDP-8s, right? Yeah. These are already gigahertz computers, even if they were IBM ATs before. So that's the problem with engineering. You have to keep up with the times, and you have to keep up with the equipment. And so, yeah, the equipment that I saw there at the time that was there was, it was quite behind the times.
Oh, I see.
So in that sense, it's sort of, it was tough. Then what happens there is the engineering students that come out, can't be, they can't compete in the world arena immediately, right? And that's where the problem is.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Did you pay attention on the UI library? How many books, at least in the engineering department?
It wasn't adequate. It was their main library that was there at the time that I visited. It was nice. It was a nice library in the sense of the the type of books that they had there. But they were fairly old books.
Fairly old books.
Oh. In that sense, it was an impressive library, and that's only because I like old things. But I think from and again, from an educational point of view, and I don't know what their accessibility is through information, but here, one way or another, through the library, we can get any published items. Not necessarily immediately. Okay, but they are. But they're there and they're available. So now I don't know, because I wasn't there trying to get the published aspects. But there are newer books here. You walk into the library here, and there are always the newest books that are there. And there, when I've seen it, it didn't seem like that they had all the newest books. And that's sort of tough when you're trying to create, an educational foundation.
Yeah.
That's really. Information is really key. And up-to-date information is very important.